Okay, teacher, is our research paper analysis. Its name is Non-Native Social Myths about British accent and pronunciation. This is our table context, and these are the topics that are immersed through this research paper, and we are going to talk about later on. The introduction. Okay, the introduction is based on general information about how many people around the world speak English as their second language. It's around 1.35 billion of people that speak in English as their second language. Besides, it exposes an problematic of immigration of the countries that the mother tongue is language, such as the United States, the United Kingdom, New Zealand, so on. And the problematic consists on there is not an official language at all. Nowadays, the Spanish and the English are becoming stronger the past 3 years. In 2019, was registered thanks to Statista.com that these rates are becoming wider because the immigration has increased. This creates social racism by native speakers to foreigners as a consequence that they do not tolerate varieties of their accent and pronunciation. In some cases, these attitudes from native speakers are becoming classist, racist, and also rude. Uh, and this infer a wrong idea of superiority. Next, we have the objectives.
Okay, teacher. So we have our three objectives. First one is linguistic racism. This objective is about the behaviors of British people with non-native speakers. The second one is demonstration. We are going to demonstrate the context of that linguistic racism. And finally, we have our survey, a survey that we formulate in order to get information about what people believe about our topic and analyze them. Next, please. Okay. So here we have our essay. Firstly, we have our BBC News article that's called "What Does Your Accent Say About You?" where there are many studies about British accents exposed by professionals such as Siwan from the University of Harvard and Catherine Kinsler from the University of Cambridge. And the second step, we have our analyze, where we conclude that the most elitist the most elitist accent is from specifically from England, from London, excuse me, and this accent has been considered the most sophisticated and elitist for through centuries, and distinguishing it from the rest of the other countries' accents. And finally, in response, we are in agreement with the BBC News articles because we believe that many people who speak with a British accent are elitist, and also we strongly believe that this article provides excellent arguments in order to clarify the the doubts and the studies made by our topic in the studies.
Okay, we
Next.
continue with the argumentative essay. In the argumentative essay is we took an historical background view of the British Empire and the importance of colonization in those ages, in the 18th century. The elitist position of the British Empire regarding their accent and pronunciation create a false idea about the cultural superiority. There are two samples in the argumentative essay. one from Lina, a Colombian woman, and the other one is from Radek Radoslov from from Scotland. Both differ in something. Lina has a good connotation from British people. On the other hand, Radoslov does not agree with her because he considered that his people is really rude with foreigners that do not speak in a certain way that they like the most. And there are afterwards there are some articles from BBC News and BBC Journal, sorry, that express the linguistic racism that is a problematic or a fact of discrimination in the United Kingdom. As a consequence, that foreigners are intimidated by British or Britons as a consequence that they do not speak the accent or do not enunciate the accent they want. Next, we have the survey.
Okay, teacher. So taking into account everything stated by my colleagues, we have arrived at the point where we need to demonstrate our arguments and reach a conclusion that allow us to determine whether our thesis is correct or incorrect. So we have proposed the survey, and with these statements, every although each of these statements has its own meaning, the overall goal of these remarks is to appeal a bit more to an emotive aspect to the responses. So what we truly want to know is each person's own impression about the British accent and pronunciation. And to avoid having to describe each one individually, I have provided the following summary. So we're really wanting to uncover or the personal experiences that have led to this specific conclusion. So our remarks are actually trying to find an appeal to more emotional side of the individuals. Our poll included about new language, English language learners and non-native English speakers living in England, as my partner said. We find that then, thanks to this proposal, some different points of view between those who live in England and those who had only heard a little bit about English culture. Attitudes and thoughts were very different about the behavior of British English speakers when hearing accents are different than theirs. So next, please. Yeah, all of this brings us to the results. Well, here we can see a huge difference between opinions because, how, as you can observe in the first four questions that are considered introductory questions to the survey, we can find a more proportional derivation towards the answer that does not agree or disagree. But next, please. Next, yeah, thank you. Once we see these six questions, we can observe that there is a much greater appeal to the emotions and possible personal experiences. So respondents were having several opinions, positive and from positive and negative perspectives of British English speakers. Next one, please. So as a conclusion, we can the response of a survey lead us to the non-native English speakers who are learning process. They are not very sure how to feel towards an less international accent, such as the British accent. On the other hand, we can also conclude that those people with more experience and knowledge about British culture do agree with certain experiences and prejudices about segregated and elitist behavior as a part of the English population. However, we cannot conclude that all British people and the majority of them have these behaviors, even though it has been demonstrated that while it is part of the culture to some extent, it is not something that completely defines the personality of every existing Briton. So as a final conclusion, we can say that most of these myths about xenophobic English people's behaviors may have very weak foundations because they are based on small parts of the population in general. But we cannot rule out a feeling of English nationalist fervor, as history has shown that these people are very proud of what their nation have achieved in the last centuries. And that's it. Thank you so much, teacher.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, teacher.
Thank you, my teacher.